Grief is such an overpowering emotion, especially after losing someone so close to you. It can take months, years, even decades to get back to normal, if that's even possible after experiencing a significant loss. This podcast was created to help you move through and release the emotions, allowing you to heal the hurt and begin living again. Listen in as I chat with medical professionals, grief workers, and people who have first-hand experience in losing a loved one, what their experience has been, and what they did to help heal themselves and those around them. Life isn't always sunshine and rainbows, but I believe there is always a silver lining if you're willing to look. Welcome to the Release Podcast. Hi, welcome to another episode of Release, a Grief Podcast. I'm your host, Faith Sage, and I'm here with the lovely, is it Elisa?
Elisa?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, nailed it.
Yep, you got
I'm
it.
on a roll. Elisa Palmer. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. As you know, this podcast is all about grief, all about the hard conversations, death, dying, loss, and all the emotions that are wrapped up around all of that. So, and I ask a lot of the people, a lot of the guests coming in, what made you sign up for this podcast, knowing that it's all about grief, all about the hard topics that people don't want to discuss?
I signed up for it because I've always wanted to reach out and let people know like my experience I had a near-death experience in 2001. I just wanted to take what I got from that experience and give it back to the people, that everybody really, because we all need it. We all need to hear about the heavenly realm and know that it's not that far off. So I'm just here to deliver the message that, everything's okay. We're all okay. And it might not feel like it, but we are. And
Oh
we're
my
just,
gosh.
yeah.
I just gotta say, it just clicked in my head what an NDE was. I read the sheet that you filled out ahead of time.
Yes.
And so it just clicked in my head, NDE. I was thinking of an NDA. And I don't know why
Oh,
I'm like, what is an NDA? Like, why is
yeah.
this pertinent to like the conversation of an NDA? I'm like, did something like really spicy happen? And like we need like
Yeah.
the details going in like that.
I
But then
know,
you're
really
like an
spicy.
NDE, and I'm like, because I don't know if you know this or not. It was so my husband and I, after we lost our daughter in 2016, we had like I completely shut down.
Oh, I
I
can't
am the
even
type of
imagine.
person that like I'm a problem solver. You tell me what's going on. There's my brain just works to where I find solutions. That's where I'm
Absolutely.
that way I'm
Yeah.
never stuck.
Yes. I love it.
And at that point, my brain broke because I could not find a solution to this problem that I was in. And so I just literally shut down sitting on the back patio, staring off into the abyss, like just
Oh,
like this lost person.
yeah.
And I don't know how long it was. I have no idea. I don't know if it was days or weeks. I have no idea. But eventually my husband, so it had to be weeks because my husband had went back to work by this time. And he came
Yes.
home and he's like, "Hey, I want you to listen to this." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. That's fine. I'll listen."
Yeah.
But it was just like, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you what you want to hear at this moment in time. And so
Exactly.
he asked me a couple days in a row, "Did you listen to it?" "No." "Did you listen to it?" "No."
Yeah.
And what he was wanting me to listen to was an NDE, a near-death experience. And I started listening to these near-death experiences, and that's what pulled me out because of the spirituality of it all. I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual, and it connected me to my spirituality and to
Mm.
the fact that my daughter she's not gone, she's just not visible. And that to me was massive. And so I'm like, I'm just having this thought like, oh my God, NDE. I remember talking with Tanya about you, but it didn't even click in my mind. NDE. I'm thinking, oh, she's got an NDA. What's this all about?
Yeah. Like, what is it? Yeah. And I knew who you are because Tanya told me about you. So I was like, oh, good. It's such a privilege to be able to talk to you and know that that helped you. And so being that the NDEs are helping people right now, I'm
Yes.
like top of the list. I want to help because I just went through the loss of my father. It's going to be a year in November, and it is really different. I've never experienced this type of grief. And so I'm like, anything I can do to help or be of service or to give back or anything, I'm ready to deliver that, right now. So
Yeah, and I just want to clarify when she said November, that was at the time of this recording. So if you're listening to this past that, it was November of 2023. So just
okay.
clarifying right there.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So I have a ton of questions.
Yay,
But
I'm
first,
excited.
go ahead and like share with me like an NDE. Like this is absolutely fascinating for me.
Yeah, and I also had the life review as well.
What is
So
that?
it's like we're basically like when you pass away or when you're going to the other side, some people they have a life review where your life flashes right before your eyes and
Hmm.
then you see, the result of it kind of thing. So I had the life review and then that made me, like see like, oh, okay, I need to come back. I need to come finish these things over here kind of thing. So that was very interesting. But do you want me just to kind of go and start
Yeah.
just my story, tell my story
Yeah.
and kind of okay, so back in 2001, I was 19 years old and I was going to Las Vegas with a friend of mine, Alex, and we were going to meet up with my other friends in Las Vegas. So it was about 6 o'clock at night. I was driving on Highway 58 from California to Las Vegas. And as I was going around 12:10 at night, there was another car that because it was a one-way highway, there was another car that started drifting into my lane. So his driver's side was going to hit my driver's side. So as it was coming, I veered off to get away from it, but it was too late. It was too fast. So it hit my car. My car and the other car bounced back, hitting at 130 miles per hour. We were both hit because when you're both going 65 and you hit, it's
Hmm.
130. So we hit, he died instantly, sadly, very
Oh.
sadly. Yeah. And then I bounced back and Alex, okay, so it was dark. The car hit. This is always the part where I'm like, okay, how do I, tell the whole
No,
story?
that's
So,
okay. Paint the picture for me so I know exactly what's happening. So you're
okay.
going from California to Nevada. It's like
Yes.
10:15 at night or 10:10 at night, or
It's
does it
around
tell?
it. The car accident happened at 12:10 exactly because I
Oh,
had a watch and later I saw it stopped exactly at the time that it hit. So right
so
at
at
12:10,
midnight, after
it,
midnight.
after midnight, yes.
Okay.
So I was sitting there in Barstow. It's completely dark. There's this guy that came up to me, which was the gentleman in front of me. He was driving a boat or a truck with a boat behind it. He
Hmm.
saw the whole accident. So he must have been the one to save my life and call 911. So he came over and it was right when I was discovering like my arm was bleeding like a faucet. There's a bone sticking out. The whole engine came in and I was stuck in the car with the engine pinned, it had my
Oh, okay.
legs, everything pinned in there. So the guy's like, help's on the way. And I was like, just like, oh my gosh. And so then all of a sudden, the paramedics came, the helicopter came, everyone started to come, and they got Alex out, and then they came around my side. They got the jaws of life. They started opening it. The lady saw the paramedics saw that I was drifting. So she's like, "What's your name?" I'm like Elisa, and she's like, "What's your last name?" Just trying to ask questions to keep me
Hmm.
alive because she could tell I was drifting out. I was headed out, and so she kept hollering, and when she was hollering, I drifted onto the other side. I drifted above my body, and I was in this it was like my spirit left my body and went above myself. And when I
Hmm.
was above myself, I encountered what I believe is God or Jesus, because that's how I believe. I know
Okay.
everybody could say a creator, whatever they took, but that's what I took. And I saw this source of light. And
Hmm.
as soon as I went to this source, I became one in that source. I was a part of it. I wasn't disconnected. I wasn't, and I saw that I was always a part of this source. And my spirit knew. And when I went there, I was begging this source to take me back home because I knew it was my real home. I knew this place was heaven. It was a beautiful place. It was wonderful. And I was begging God, please take me home. Please take me home. This is my home. And I thought I was going to go home. I thought I got to go there. But then I was shown the life review. The life review showed me that I was not finished and I had more things I was supposed to do. So at the end of the life review, it was like God was saying, okay, do you really want to go back? Because I just showed you this. And I was like, I have to go back because of my life is not done. So I realized I had to go back. And I came back and I had this message, and I've always wanted to share this message, but the timing was not right because of the internet. It wasn't, the NDEs were not, they were being discovered.
Right.
Everybody was trying to figure it out, but now we're at this point where things are at the forefront of understanding these near-death experiences. So now is a time where I can deliver the message. It wasn't before, it's now. And so here I am after my father passed away 20 years later. Well, 2001 was my accident, and I know that I'm supposed to deliver this message about God's love and how beautiful it was in eternity and the telepathy. And I was also shown that before we were born, we had this plan with our creator, and he gave us gifts, and that we were discussing these plans, and then he put us into the womb and we were supposed to fulfill these plans. When I had my NDE, I was shown those things about, you know, how we knew our creator before and stuff. So those are some of the messages that kind of, I guess, flowed to me or came to me that I've always been wanting to share with everybody. So
I love that.
if there's
So
anything else.
let me just recap. So the messages that you were shown were: one, your life purpose;
Yes. Yes.
two, that we are one with the creator;
Yes.
and then also that we have special gifts. All of
Yes.
us have. And are those individual gifts, or
Oh,
like
yes,
all have?
because God, we were created individual, and there's
Mhm.
something very unique about individuality in the realm of God. He made us all very different, but we're all very much the same. And
Mhm.
so he gave us these unique gifts, um, depending on the personality of who we are. He gave us these special gifts because he loves us so much. He gave them special just for us, um, to glorify him. I had a dream years ago, and it was like I was sleeping and I heard Matthew 5:16 in my dream. And I woke up and I looked it up in the Bible, and it said, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So when I had that dream, it was a puzzle piece to the other stuff that I had already gathered. And what I understood is because we were given these gifts, I understood after that dream, it was sort of, for me, it was a confirmation to say, oh, okay, we're just here to glorify the light, the Father, glorify his love. We're here to love one another and be a glory to that. So that's, oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Um, so yeah, so that was my impression, is that we're just here to glorify the Father, to love one another, to be there for one another. We're eternal beings. We go back to the Father. We're so loved, like the love that I was shown. It's just no near-death experience person can describe it with the earthly words. So
Right.
I was shown just this eternal love that it's like I just wanted to bring that love back and show everybody and show them the truth, you know. And I feel like that was part of why I had the experience, to say, it's okay, everything's okay. Like, we're just going to go back and wake up like it's a dream. And we just wake up and there we are. So we're just
You
so,
wake up like a dream
yeah, like it feels like a dream when you wake up, just like a
from an
dream.
NDE.
Yeah. For
Okay.
me, for me, when I woke up to the heavenly realm, um, I woke up to the place where there's no amnesia. Over here, we have amnesia. We can't remember that realm. So until you wake up to that realm, then you know, oh yeah, okay, this is just right there. But if you're not woken up to that, we don't understand what's really there.
Have
But
you
I
been
was,
back?
what?
Have you been back to the realm, to that
Um,
realm?
no, but I do feel like when my dad passed away, the room opened and I got to see into it a little bit. It's like a veil, and
Hmm.
you can see into the other side if your spirit's open to it. Might sound a little strange, but that was my experience, is that yes, that realm is actually, I believe the heavenlies are a part of the earthly realm too. You can have a little bit of both. But because we can't see into that side, it's very confusing the way, like, my brain's always trying to make sense of it, right? Because I know when it all comes down to it, it's all just this big mathematical equation too. So my
Right.
brain works like math in it or something. But basically, we're on this earth plane where time exists. This is a
Right.
timely realm. But when you go to the heavenly realm, there is no time there. There's no time. It's a space of eternity. So when you go to the place of eternity, you remember eternity. But when you come back here, you can only remember what you're meant to remember here on earth. So we have amnesia. We forget it all. But when we go there, it all comes back. We remember all of it and we go, oh, yeah, this is our home. This is the real place. This place, this is not our real home. That's why we have the triumph and the icky stuff, because we're learning and growing. But the heavenly, that is the real home.
So you mentioned that here on Earth, it's not our real home. And that we're here to learn things. So each person that's on Earth is here to learn something specific
For them, for their personality,
for
their
their
gifts,
personality.
because we're all given unique gifts.
And is that based upon like um oh gosh, like our like the moon and the stars kind of gifts, like the day that we're born, all of those stuff, the astrology, the stuff like that? Or like what is the personality? Because that's like it's different. I mean, I know every person's different, but
Like the
that's more
gifts.
of a spiritual thing, isn't it? The personality?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like the gifts that God gives us these certain gifts. Our creator gives us these certain
Hmm.
gifts. So before we're even in the womb,
Hmm.
it's like we've discussed these things with him. And he says, these are your specific gifts to do your specific things here on earth. So we're all different, but we're all one of the same and we're all
Hmm.
connected in that. So it's like we make this one beautiful big blob of light together, you know? So we each are a puzzle piece to this
Hmm.
big giant thing. So we each are just as responsible as the other person to give our gifts, because our gifts are to help one another and they light it all up. They light everything up beautiful and bright and the way it's supposed to be. But when you don't have your gifts and or when you're not utilizing your gifts, you get dimmer and you get, you know, just depressed or whatever. But when you have your gifts, we're light and we're beautiful and we're bright and we're doing all the things we're supposed to do. So the gifts are really important, because that's the reason why we're sent here, is to glorify the Father, glorify the light, and be here. And He works through us, and then we glorify Him through us. So He had a plan before we were born to work these gifts.
Hmm.
That was what I gathered in my personal experience. I know
Oh,
everyone's
I love it
different.
though. And so how long were you, quote unquote, because I don't know the right words to use, how long were you like out in your wreck? Like was this just the moments that you were uncoherent, like when they were trying to get you out of the
Yeah,
car?
it was when
Um,
I was going like in and out of consciousness. So when I went out of consciousness and I went to the other side, there's no amount of time there. So
right.
um it's not a time thing. It's just you go over and you figure things out and you have a discussion, and God, our creator, decides, okay, is it your time or is it not? And if you have unfinished business, he's just going to send you on back. So if you're finished and you completed your tasks, then from what I gathered, you go home with the Father and you stay with him until whatever happens then, you know.
Sure. So I have so many questions.
You're
I'm
what?
just trying to not I said I have so many questions. I'm
No,
just
just
trying to
ask away. I
not
don't mind.
overwhelm you.
No,
Um,
it's fine. I don't mind.
because so like with our daughter when she passed away,
Yeah.
um, is that something like she had her business was finished, or was it just there's other circumstances that just like take you out as well? And you may not even be able to answer these. I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay. My impression, and it's kind of a big question to answer because I want
It
to be so
is.
delicate with
It is.
everybody. Um, but I kind of have the impression, I don't want to say everything's meant to happen because none of the bad things are that's not meant to happen. That's not
Yep.
part of what is meant to be, especially in the realm of like what God wants and stuff. He doesn't want anybody to hurt or any pain or anything like that. I think when you wake up to the other side, this side's kind of like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's like a blink of an eye. And
Hmm.
so when I don't know, because if I lost a child, that's so difficult, you guys. I feel so sad because of what you guys are going through. So I don't want to ever say any scenarios that shoulda, woulda,
No,
coulda.
no, 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 no. That,
Um,
and maybe I'm not asking the question correctly.
no,
Um,
you're good.
so I'm not, I don't want you to think that the question that I'm asking for a specific answer. I'm
Okay.
not.
Yeah, no.
I just want to know, like, are there, because you talked about NDEs and like being on the other side and being able to choose if you could come back or stay. And so I'm just wondering here in the earthly realm, if like, so my daughter died in a car wreck, like, are those things just like they happened here on in the earthly realm? And then she was not afforded to be able to come back from that? Or had she accomplished her goals that she was had set out to do? And so those are my questions. It's not like whether it's okay, you know, or right or wrong or anything like that. Like that doesn't play a part at all for me.
Oh, yes.
It's just along the lines like I'm just trying to understand the NDEs section
Yes.
better.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes. No, that
whether
makes complete sense. I get it.
yes. And so
Yeah.
it's like
So
I didn't mean to put that much pressure on you at
no, no, no,
first
no, no,
because that
no,
sounded
no.
very like harsh at first. I'm like, no.
I didn't think that. I just want to really tread lightly with everybody because I know, I lost my dad and
It's a very touchy subject and
yes.
it's very heavy.
Yes.
But for me, the NDEs were what got me through. And it's like, my son, he had in 2021, he had a brain aneurysm. And we found out over Memorial Weekend, we found out that Saturday night. And by Tuesday morning, he was on the operating table and he had an NDE and I witnessed it. And it was intense. Like it was intense because I was freaking out. Um, and you could feel that they were leaving you. And then he would come back. Then I could feel like he was leaving me, and then he would come back. And then he came back, like he's still with us now. But it was so this
Oh my gosh, I'm so
fascinates
glad he's
me.
still with you.
He's still with us in the earthly realm. But he said that he did see his sister up in the heavenly realm, which, you know, makes my heart like I get overcome with emotion every time because it's like I want to have that connection. I don't know how. And so
Through
just
love, through love.
hearing these things, well, and I know she's all around us. I know she's here. And I know she's with us all the time and she guides us and she loves us. And so I don't know, they just fascinate me. And so
They're
there's just right or
amazing.
wrong answers here. These are just me asking questions. I'm trying to get
Yeah,
more clarification on
absolutely.
like when you're when they are not me, but when they are in that situation for, you know, having an NDE going into the heavenly realm or staying here and coming back to the earthly realm. Um, do they get the choice every time to come back? And I'm
Oh,
like, I don't know if you know.
well, okay, so what I've gathered though, because I was on a couple other podcasts and I've heard like the first podcast I did, he was like excited that I had the life review and everything
Mhm.
because they're a little bit more rare, but I don't know if that's true for sure. So I don't think they're as common. Um, but the impression that I had is that some people that have these life reviews, God will say, it's not your time and you got to go back.
Okay.
So I thought that was a little different because I was like, well, why was I shown and then given a choice? And then why are other people shown and then sent back? So that kind of baffled me a little bit. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
interesting to me. But the ultimate answer to that question, I think, would be is like, because when I was losing my father, I was like, no, it's not his time. He's not going to go. I really wanted to keep my dad around and he wanted to stick around. So we were fighting together. And so I wanted to keep him around and I was like, it's not his time. God, he's going to get up there and God's going to show him a life review and he's going to say, oh, it's not my time. So I was so convinced that that's what was going to happen. And he got up there and his family took him home and that was the end of it. But I really thought, because there's Anita Morhani, which is a woman who had had a near-death experience. She had severe cancer. She had the experience and she was completely healed and she came back. So I was like, that's going to be my dad, obviously. Like, dad's not going anywhere. And then that didn't happen. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, so obviously the things that he did here, I mean, this was for me, the things that he did here, he accomplished his mission. He did what he was supposed to. He did everything he was supposed to do. He projected all the love and all the light and all these beautiful things that he did. He did, and he went home. He did what he was supposed to. So for in my personal experience, that's how I registered my father's death. It was like, no, he's not, it's not time. I was so determined. He was not done. And when he got up there, he was
That was
done.
not
And
the case.
it sounded like you had a shared death experience. I didn't know I had a shared death experience until the first podcast. And the gentleman had said, oh, that sounds like a shared death experience. Because when my father passed away, it was almost like I can see into the heavenlies and I could see there was this big celebration and I could see his family coming down for 3 days and letting him know there's this huge celebration. So I could see it with my spirit, but my eyes couldn't see it. So I think sometimes because of the spirit, we're allowed these certain things. We're allowed to see it because God allows it. And so I think as long as our hearts and spirits are open to that God's love, like he's going to reveal things that he wants to show us, and
Mm.
so that's my impression of that aspect of things.
So what you're saying to me is it just depends.
I think it depends on
On
you
the
and your
person,
creator. Like, what plan
right?
did he have for you? And I think it's such a personal thing because
That would make
he
sense.
knows us so well, like better than anything else. So when we get up there and he's like, okay, and he's doing it, it's a personal, it's so personal. I think this
Mm.
is what I gathered because when I came before my creator and I was speaking telepathy and I was conversating and I was like one with this with God, it was so beautiful and whole and wonderful and good and there was nothing that was bad about it at all. It was only like being elevated to this other level of understanding and this deep knowing of like everything. We just understand things there. So this is
Because
the
there's no
place of,
words there, are there? There's no words, right?
I didn't speak words. I
It's all
spoke.
your mind, right?
Yes,
Okay.
because in that realm we're elevated because this is like what a 3D dimension or so
Hmm.
when you start going up into dimensions, you start all the knowledge, everything comes back, you know. So we're just very minimal here. And it's hard because we can't see clearly sometimes. We can have
Right.
glimpses, but
Hmm. So do you believe that your NDE helped you with your father's passing or talk to me about
yes,
your father about losing your dad? I know
it
you
did help
briefly
me.
touched on it and you thought that he was just going to come back because he didn't,
He wasn't done.
yeah.
I didn't want him to be done. I was like, no, you still got more stuff to do, Dad, like a lot more. But no, he did what he did and he did a lot and he was a great man. So he did a good job. So with, okay, so because I had the experience with the NDE in 2001, there was something inside of me where I just knew that when these times come that, that I would be able to help in some way or another, spiritually. I just feel it in my spirit. So when my dad passed, he had cancer and he was sick for about 6 months. And so when I was there with him, and in the end, when he started to travel over and his loved ones were coming down and letting him know there was a big celebration on the other side and it was being prepared and all this stuff, I think it did help me because I already knew about that realm. I already understood it. And so it was like going into a place that I was already knowledgeable of.
Mm,
So it was like, it was not any surprise to me. It was just like, oh, okay, this is the heavenly realm. This is past the veil. This is something I already know about. So it didn't surprise me, but I think a lot of hospice workers, they witness a lot of interesting things too. So I think it's just when you're with somebody who is going to the other side, or even when somebody is giving birth, you're going to witness something very beautiful and something very spiritual because they're coming in and out of the other side. And so you're definitely going to witness these wonderful, beautiful things, because it's the spirit coming and going. So,
okay.
yeah. Did that answer your question?
No, it gave me more.
That's okay. I'm so glad we're in a good
It's just so
conversation now.
fascinating to
Isn't
talk
it
about
fun?
this.
Yeah.
And I know that I believe that we're all spiritual beings on this earth, whether
Yes,
everyone else believes it or not. That's
I do.
up
Yes.
for them to decide.
I'm
For
the
me,
same.
we're all spiritual beings and we're all connected together. I liken us to I love to garden.
Me too. Oh, it's
And
wonderful.
on the surface, you have all these individual plants sticking up, all this stuff sticking up. But under the surface, there's the roots and they're all connected, and there's the dirt and there's the water and there's the air, and everything is connected underneath the ground.
I love
And
it.
I liken the same thing, as above, so below, or as below, so above. And I believe that like we are connected spiritually in our heads, like it goes up and there's all this individual, you can't see it, but there's all this like cords above us, like
Yes.
connections above us. And like we can communicate without saying a word. Like we can do that here. It just takes a ton of practice. I've not mastered it. Heck, I'm sometimes don't even know and say all the wrong things, but I think good ones.
Me too.
um, but that's what I believe here on this earth, is that we're all connected in doing those things. And the more that we, like you said, emote love, um peace, joy, happiness, like our light shines much brighter.
Yes.
And the way that we elevate others, so not necessarily, um I guess I don't elevate creator, but I elevate like love and peace and happiness,
Yes.
and chasing love, peace, happiness, instead of like a dollar or an
Yeah.
object or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yes.
Um, and for me is the key to unlocking everything in my world.
I love it. It's beautiful and it's so perfect. It all makes sense. I mean,
It
I think
does for
love
me.
is, yeah, no, and love is where it's at. I think that's
It
where we
is,
can
and
all,
it's a love from within, not just the
yeah,
words coming out of your mouth, but you have to like believe it within the whole core of your being
yes.
that um love is, because right now at the time of this recording we're going through an election, and I don't
I
know if you
know.
remember an election year, but it's just like it's everything that my parents told me not to do, you know, butting heads, name calling, being an asshole to someone else, do unto
Yeah.
others as you'd have done unto you is
Uh-huh.
what was taught to me. It's like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if I want good things and love and kindness and all those things, I have to project love and kindness and goodness and all those things.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I don't know. That's just my interpretations of
No,
all.
I think it's beautiful and perfect. Not like I have the, the power to say, oh, I think that's great. But I
No,
think
no, no.
that I think that you are spot on. And I think that ultimately, like, and that was another thing I was shown in my life review is it's kind of like a game of chess. What
Mm-hmm.
you put out there, you will get back. It's the
Mm-hmm.
golden rule, right? So if you're going to put out love, you're going to get love. If you're going to put out hate, you're going to get hate. You're going to get all those things. And that is the golden rule. You get what you put out there
What you
because
seek, you
we are in
find.
charge of ourselves. We're the boss of ourselves. So we are on this mission to project love. That's why we're here. So when we're in that state, we're in our most blissful, happiest state. And I think right now, the division is creating this universal feeling for all of us. But really, once it gets turned around, we will realize the power that we truly have as humans. We're so much more powerful, and we have so much ability to to duplicate peace and love and goodness. And once we figure that out, I think, and I hope and I pray for that change to happen that I feel inside of my soul is going to happen. So I'm hoping that that feeling I get of excitement and love and bliss and like change, and we're going to get to this elevated point of understanding, then hopefully we'll be able to purge. We're just purging, hopefully purge all this stuff out, and then we'll get to the good stuff and really understand, like, hey, we are connected. We're not disconnected. We are connected. We are here to love and help one another, and everything needs proper guidelines. You can't just have pure chaos and expect good. You have to have guidelines. You have to have boundaries, common sense type of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but
Absolutely.
the potential that we have as humans is just dynamic. It's dynamic.
I
So
love that. That was spot on. Spot on. So, did you waver in this belief at all after you had the NDE experience in 2001? Did you think, well, that was just a dream? Like,
no,
no.
it was very interesting because after it happened, I was like kind of like wanting to tell everybody, like I was all spun out on NDEs and wanting to like tell everybody. I told all my friends, I told different people. I probably look like a crazy person. I got on the internet, I was researching, where do I find information on this thing that happened to me, like for years.
Right.
And since 2001 all the way till now, I've been studying near-death experiences. And for the last couple of years, I kind of got off base because my dad and this and that. And
Mhm.
then when I started doing these podcasts and I started going online on Facebook and writing people, I realized there was this huge transition in the near death experience world.
Mm.
Um, so wait, I got sidetracked again. What was your question? I'm
I
so
said,
sorry.
did you waver back and forth after you had your NDE? Like, oh, this didn't really happen, or
Oh, okay. Yes. So sorry, I was on track and then I lost track. So I found Dr. Jeffrey Long. I found his website, but I believe it didn't say his name. It was just called Near Death Research Experience Foundation. So I found his site. I was able to relate and go, oh my gosh, there's stories that I can read. I can relate. I can feel like, oh, wait, that happened. I was just looking for a connection. So I found his website. I saw that you could submit your story in there. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go ahead and submit it. I was like, I think 21 or, whatever at the time. So I went ahead and submitted it and I was like, oh, good. I have somewhere to like learn about this stuff. So I would occasionally just get on and study. And then his first book came out, and I ordered that and I read it. And then I want to say it was 2017, his second book came out, and I ordered it and I read it. And then I came across the part where my story was in there. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. And inside of my spirit, I was like, oh, that's God. He's telling me I'm not crazy. Like he's letting me know I'm not like that you're not crazy and that your story was heard enough to say, okay, this is valid. So at that point,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is crazy. Like I can't believe my story's in there. So that was really exciting because I felt like, okay, I was really heard. I was really understood. People heard my story and they believed my story. Not that like my family members didn't and stuff like that, but it's just so different. You know, it's not something that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to believe you.
Right.
So when it came out in that book, that was like really exciting for me. Just because I knew that Dr. Long and Jody Long, who they run the website, their passion and love for trying to figure this stuff out helped me. So their connection to me and everything that they were doing all webbed together. It's like a web that kind of came together. So that was really eye-opening. And then I also saw like I start looking around and I saw this one website and it had my story on the website. So it's just very interesting, that my story was being captured all along and I can wrap it up and say, okay, here I am now. So that I know is all just the puzzle piece of the creator coming together and saying, okay, your story is ready to come out and really deliver it. So I just feel honored because I know when I did have that experience, I was supposed to come back and talk about it. I was told in my spirit it was something that I was supposed to deliver. And so it's just interesting, all of it. The puzzle piece of it is.
Oh, I find it fascinating.
I know.
I
It's
find
just,
all of it fascinating. And how many times have we went and had an NDE experience, but didn't come back and don't remember it? Like our dreams NDE
yeah.
experiences? Are we seeing the other realm up there? Are
I
we
think in dreams you
astral
probably,
projecting? Are we like
yeah.
there's so many things and that all of that fascinates me. Um because like it's almost like sometimes you can see the future. Like you've been here before, you've done this before, but yet you don't remember any of it.
And I think your soul does.
Yeah,
Like our
I think
soul
so.
remembers everything, but like our physical doesn't. So our
Correct.
soul will get the hints and the understandings and the okay, this is familiar. Our soul speaks another language. It speaks the language of the
Yes.
creator. So our soul will know certain things, but our body and our physical just is like doesn't, they don't meet together very well. So there's signs, there's signals, there's different things, but and we're like, oh, I think it's that, I think it's this, but like the other side is always working for us. It's always, we're so protected, we're so loved. Like I wrote this poem and years ago and I reread it every once in a while, and it's all about how basically like when you wake up to that room you forget about it, but really it's like we're there all along, like our spirit's there already, but our physical's here. So we're like in this spiritual battle and it's exhausting, but if we just know we're safe, we're okay, we're loved, our children are loved, our children are safe, everything is exactly the way it's meant to be, then we just know we're protected and we're safe. Because it feels very unsafe out here these days, I think, for
Hmm.
everybody. But knowing that I had that experience, it does bring me peace. Knowing that when I look around and all this chaos and everything, that in a blink of an eye, we're with our creator and we're safe. That makes me feel better. That makes me feel like, okay, this is just like a TV screen. You know, it helps.
Yeah. It does help. I believe it helps quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
They were all going to be together again,
right.
loving and hugging and unity and like all that love, like the peace and the love, all those wonderful things that we feel. That is our true reality. That's the truth.
And so like when you talked about like mentioning the whether this is real, whether it's not, whether we do this, whether we do that, do you believe that that plays a part, like our intuition is like guiding us along that path as well?
Yeah, I do. As long as it's in love, that you're feeling the love, then and it's good and it's positive, then yeah, our gut intuition, it speaks
Hmm.
to us all the time. I think that we're in a world where It's phased out a lot, maybe not with everybody. Like I have different things I should do, like get in nature, exercise more, spend more time in prayer, or whatever it is to be more connected, and you just shut the world out. Then I think that that voice gets louder and louder and louder. But because we're in such a noisy environment and the internet, and we're always taking everything in, it's hard to hear that voice. It's sort of,
No, I fully agree with that. That's why I love my gardening, because I am just out there and they talk to me. I can hear what they need. They
yeah.
connect with me. I connect with the animals.
Oh my gosh, I
Um,
love it.
and people call me, I don't even tell people all
No,
this
you're
a
not
lot of the
crazy.
times,
You're
because
intuitive.
a lot of people tell me that, well, that's crazy, that's weird, that's whatever. And I'm
It's
like,
not.
whatever. It's
I
not
don't
for
think,
everyone,
I
but
don't, to
for
me, it's
me,
normal. So,
like I can tell when my plants need this or that, or when it's time to do this or that,
oh,
or
that's not weird
when
at
I need to
all.
transplant them or not transplant them, or
No,
snip them
you're an
back or
intuitive
not.
gardener. Yeah, it's beautiful. I come from a family of arborists. My dad was an
Oh,
arborist, and he owned a tree business named Evergreen Tree Service. And then my brother also owns Sam's Tree Service, which is all in the Central Coast. So they worked together and everything. They were just all this beautiful team. And after Dad passed away, I looked up the name of Evergreen because he owned a tree service called Evergreen Tree Service. So I looked it up, and it means not the exact, but overall, it's eternal life. It's eternity. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. So before he passed away, he's like, Lisa, you have to become an arborist. And I was like, okay, okay. So he's giving me the books, and, all of my family, my siblings, I have three arborist siblings, and my dad and mom were arborists. And so everybody was just arborists. And so I find the tree world and the root system and all of it, it all coincides with this beautiful message from the other side. It's so beautiful. And I see it. So when you say you're talking to plants and everything, I know you're not crazy. That's the way I grew up. I grew up around plants, and they can talk to you and tell you what they need based on how they're acting, and if they need water, if they're tired, they need sunshine, different soil. So if anything, it's helping you heal, and you're connected to the earth. That there's no better way. I think that's so beautiful. So I think keep on gardening. I'm right behind you. I want to become an arborist and move forward depending on my life and how it organically
right.
proceeds. But gardening is a huge thing in my family, and I promote it like to everybody. I wish that we could do farmers markets everywhere and do trades and
Yes,
get rid of all
yes.
this junk food. And that's what I'm hoping and praying for, because if we were to connect with the earth like that, imagine how happy. You throw some animals in there, we're just back to the way we're supposed to be. So
100%.
there's just a total disconnect, and I think you're connected, you know?
Yeah. So I have wanted to become, so I've told you my love of gardening, the plants whispering to me and talking to me, animals too, like I
Oh, I
hear
love
them.
animals. I have a huge
And
love.
I have wanted to become a master gardener for a very long time. Like
Mm.
I crave the knowledge. It's like I'm at this point and now I know I can go further. Like I've embodied this up to this point, and now I'm ready for more. And so we had a newspaper delivered we get newspapers every week, whatever, to our house. I don't ever read
Uh-huh.
them. We
Yeah.
collect them to because we have a fireplace. And so we use them to start fires in our fireplace.
Okay.
Burn the paper,
Yes.
whatever, start the wood on fire. Well, this day I decided to read the paper. In the paper was actually a tiny little spot in there to apply to become a master gardener for my county. And I read that and I applied, and I'm just waiting on the response back at this moment.
Gosh, I'm so
And so
excited.
I'm like,
Yay.
how weird is that? They only put it in there that one time.
And then the day you didn't burn
And it was
it.
the day that I read it. So I don't believe in coincidences. Things don't happen by coincidence.
No, they don't.
Um,
They
and
don't.
so I applied, and we'll see. I don't see
Oh
there's a
my
reason why
gosh.
I won't get in there, and so by the end of next year, I should be a master gardener.
How inspiring. That is so cool. Congratulations.
Well,
And,
thank you.
and especially because your soul, it just connects. You just
Yes.
connect to it, and that's your thing. It's
My husband
beautiful.
gets upset because my garden keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it
Oh
takes
my
up more and more and more of our yard because
gosh.
my dream when I moved in was to have an edible yard. That was my goal. That's what I wanted. I wanted my kids to be able to, and their friends, and anyone that was in the yard to be able to just go out there and find food. And so we have like strawberries and raspberries, and I've not been able to grow a damn blueberry yet, but it's
Yeah,
I'll get
yeah,
it.
but that's
And
okay.
rhubarb, and I plant these big things, all the time. And
So
we
you're going
have,
to become a master gardener, and then you're going to teach other people to be master
yes,
gardeners, and then they're going to start doing gardening from their house
I
instead
hope
of
so.
getting all the food at the store.
Yeah.
We got to start growing from our own house and our own yard, like what is it? South Korea. They just everywhere there's my cousin, he's in the military, him and his family, so they went over there for I want to say a couple years. And my cousin Priscilla, she was just like in awe over the fact that they had trees all over the street and you can pick them and eat them.
Yeah, I would love to in my little hometown. I would love to have um a garden that's free for anyone to go and partake of it, not to go there and pluck everything to can for
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah.
but to be able to like have people walk by, like kids could
And
know, hey, I want to go grab some raspberries,
oh my
or I want to
gosh,
go
that's
grab
like
some
so
strawberries that are in
wonderful.
season, or maybe there's a pear tree, or maybe there's a plum tree, or whatever, and to be able to go do that.
I
But
want to do that with you. Let's just go take over
let's
little city.
do it.
I like it. Oh my
I
gosh,
think
how
that that
fun.
would be one way to stop world hunger, is to be able
I
to,
know.
plant gardens, plant spaces for people to eat. And this podcast has gotten way off track. But that's okay, because this is the message that must be needing to come out between the
That's what
two.
I feel like. Togetherness, work on our goals. Let's unite. Let's plug in that light. Let's light it up with our gifts. And your
Yeah.
gift, you're Mrs. Master Gardener. Soon, that's the future, but I already see it.
I mean, I just like gardening. I just think it feeds our souls,
It
our
does.
human existence on so many levels besides just nourishment.
Yes.
Just more than just calories. More
Yes, I
than just
agree.
like protein or whatever, that's in the food.
Uh-huh.
It feeds us on every level: spiritual,
Absolutely.
physical, emotional, and knowing that we'll never starve to death because we know how to grow food.
All from a
It
seed.
removes that fear.
Yes, that's true. We can
Mhm.
have seeds with the DNA that will grow more seeds and more seeds and more seeds, and then we're going to be okay.
And then we harvest seeds and we put them up for next spring. Or I'm actually trying out right now, currently.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying out winter gardening. So I live
Okay,
in
yeah.
Minnesota, and it freezes here. Like it gets really, really cold here. But I
There
have
is a place
noticed,
in Minnesota where my neighbor, she has a family member that has a property, a gardening thing, gardening business, and they're going to sell it. Or they're going to like trying to keep it in the family. So she's like, I want to go take it over. And so Minnesota made
do
me.
it. Do
I
it.
know, I know. I'll talk to her more because we were like, she's pumped on gardening too.
Yeah. But like
So
there's winter gardening, but I don't know if it's even a thing here. But I know in my own garden, I have seen the tomatoes come back, and they say that tomatoes are a summer crop. But
yes.
I have put like a whole tomato, like when you clear out your garden, you just put stuff off to the side and you take
Yeah.
care of it in the spring.
Yes.
So in the spring, I have all these little tiny tomato shoots coming up. So I'm like, if I just put a tomato, plop it here, and this is my tomato patch now. And so next
Yes.
spring, I can let them get tall enough and then move them to where I need them to go.
I
And
love it.
then do the same thing with like watermelons and pumpkins, because we don't have a very long growing season here. So they
Yeah.
better start, by what. And so I'm like, I'm going to try winter gardening this
Oh
year
my gosh,
because
that is so exciting. I have a
why
niece
not?
too who's in agriculture, and she's been doing it. at Cal Poly in San Luis for quite some time. And we have a family ranch, and she'll come up and kind of do things with her grandma and stuff. But just the fact that she's in agriculture and she's like really into it. And then I have my arborist family. There's just something with the plants for sure. And then I have an uncle who he started this place in Santa Cruz. Well, he brought over a bunch of bamboo from like China, and he brought it over to Santa Cruz and found a microclimate, and it
Mhm.
just went crazy over there. And then he ended up selling the property. But as a kid, we would go over there and there's just bamboo everywhere. And now it provides for most of North America, all that bamboo that just flourished.
Grows
So,
so fast. You can use it for so many things.
yes. So there's just something, we got something with the plant stuff for sure. I'm super excited.
Yeah, and going back to that, like I had a calling years ago to create a healthcare line because I wanted to remove chemicals out of my stuff, out of the stuff that I was using on a daily basis. So like body wash, I don't use it. So many chemicals in it.
I
Laundry
know.
detergents, I don't use it because I make my own. So I make
That's
my own
awesome.
body
Good for
wash
you.
and I make my own laundry soap.
I love it.
And I just created a recipe for my very own lotion that's like healing and healthy
Oh, I'm
and
interested.
in that regard, I make my own healing salve that's like for sunburns, for like oven burns,
Oh my
whatever that
gosh.
helps you. And so I don't ever wear sunscreen because
Okay.
sunscreen's extremely toxic for our systems.
Yes.
It's toxic for our environment. And so if I get a burn, I put my healing salve on it, and like a couple days, that burn's turned into a beautiful tan. I
Oh
mean,
my
like,
gosh, that's awesome.
and then like
You're so
I call it
intuitive.
liquid therapy. And so these are all just, I remove the chemicals out and I get back to nature. And so this is like, let me tell you this little secret. Don't tell anyone. I know it's
Okay.
just me and you here.
Okay.
This last year in my garden, my husband and I, we left for a couples trip. We were gone for 7 days. We come back and this was in, I want to say May or April or May.
Uh-huh.
I think
Yes.
it was in May. So we get back and I'm starting in my garden. I'm clearing it out. I'm getting ready to like plant things and so we can have a decent garden. Well, in the midst of my garden, in the weirdest place possible, I'm like, I think that's a pot plant, a marijuana plant.
Oh,
One.
okay.
And so we leave and I'm like, let's just let it go. Let's let it do what it needs to do, whatever. I'm not gonna disturb it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
give it any special attention, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna like kill it off either. Let's see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, everyone around me was like, that's ditchweed. It's not going to grow. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to whatever, right? By the end of the season, it was 11 feet, 4 inches tall. It had a stalk of about 3 inches. It was a tree. It was a tree. Okay.
Oh, so it was a tree.
Well, no, no, no. It was actually a marijuana plant,
Okay,
but
yeah.
it had a stalk. So I'm calling it a tree because it had
Oh,
a stalk of like 3 inches round. Like
yes,
this is the
definitely
bottom
like a
of it.
tree.
And my kids would come up and they would take selfies with it and they would do all these things with it, right? Let me tell you, I have a YouTube masterclass in harvesting a marijuana plant because it produced buds.
Oh
It
my God.
produced everything that it needed. And I'm clueless. I don't smoke marijuana. I'm not
Yeah,
against it.
you
I
just
just
have
don't
a
do it.
good thumb.
And I'm like, I, it, I don't know. But here I have a tub sitting beside me of all of this marijuana stuff
Oh my gosh, that's so
that
funny.
I need to like busk off the vine. I don't even know if I'm saying the words right because
Oh, okay.
it's a
Yes.
YouTube education.
Yes.
Mm. And I have to, do all these things. And everyone's like, my husband's like, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to smoke it? Like, what are you going to do? It's illegal to smoke it. You're going to become the new block dealer, whatever. And I'm like, that is not my intent. I said, but for some reason, this plant ended up in my garden. It was the
Yeah.
only one. And it grew and it produced. There's a
Yes.
reason.
There is a
And
reason.
I'm like, okay, is this for my health and safety stuff? For me to maybe process these down to get the THC and the CBD out of it, to be able to infuse it into my products to help people on the back end with aches and pains and relieve people of these illnesses.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
I
that's
believe
great.
that is my goal, is to help people, um,
Oh,
one with their grief, to understand that there's a higher consciousness out there and
yeah.
that, we have to gravitate towards that,
Yes.
and that we're still connected to our loved ones even though we can't see them.
Yes.
And also, while we're here on this earth, to be able to move and play and do all the things that we want to do without the
Yeah.
aches and pains, without pills, potions, and
Yes. I
chemicals,
love it.
all that
I
stuff.
love it.
And so people are like, "No, you have to sell that." I'm like, "I don't have to do shit. It's mine."
Exactly.
None
I
of y'all
love
came
it.
and helped me with my gardening this year.
Yeah,
Don't
you're like,
tell me what I need to be doing.
I'm here to help people, so,
I know, and everyone's like, "Well, I'll buy some from you." I'm like, "Oh, do you want lotion or do you want a
Oh
healing
my gosh, that's great.
bag?"
I love it. Yeah. And I think we live in a culture now where we've figured out that it is very helpful in the
It is.
products and to put on your body, and it sinks into your skin, and
It
it
does. Your
does
skin
help with
absorbs it so mu and I'm thinking here I have this. I get very passionate about my products because
good.
it's
I
like,
don't blame
okay, I
you.
have this lotion that I found by mistake. It was a failed, healing salve recipe. It didn't set. And I'm like,
Okay.
"Okay, well, if I" like a frosting, if you whip it enough,
Yes.
it'll thicken,
Yes.
okay? Or like
Yeah.
butter, like you
Okay.
whip cream and it'll turn into butter.
Exactly.
I'm like,
Yes.
"Okay, well, maybe this'll do it." It did not. So I had to add some more ingredients of a different kind into it, like coconut oil and stuff like that to give it more of a thicker.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I also added in magnesium flakes, which are extremely healthy for your skin. But
Oh
I'm
yeah. I
like, if
haven't
I
I eat magnesium, but I haven't advanced to putting on your skin, but I've heard it's great.
well,
So,
all you gotta do is buy some magnesium flakes,
okay.
and mix it into your current lotion is like the basic step of it.
Oh, okay.
But my lotion consists of, like there's honey in it, there's,
Do you have a line where you sell it and
beeswax.
stuff?
My website's currently being built on that,
Okay, good. Because I was like,
but
you need to sell that stuff. I want to buy it.
like, I'm thinking if I can get the THC and the CBD stuff into it to where it
Yeah.
doesn't mess with people's urinary analysis, like if they're
Yeah.
pooping or
Just
whatever, like, I don't want people to
physical.
get fired from their jobs for
No, gosh,
using
no. Oh,
but, like, how cool would that be for people with rheumatoid arthritis, where their
I think
joints
it's
actually ache?
I think it's a great idea. And I think we live in a society right now that where they need these products. They need it because there's so much toxins and yucky stuff going into our body. We need somebody like you to say, okay, like this is a product without that stuff, because I think we are on a trend right now where we're purging all this stuff out because we're realizing how poison it is to our body. So
Yeah.
I think you're definitely, with all of your vibes and everything, you're onto something so beautiful. And I
And
think
I don't
people need
even,
it.
like I think of it at the soil level too, so, like, healing our soil to be able to grow the nutrients that we need.
Well, yeah, think
Not
about the
this
set.
summer, but last summer, my tomato plants were over 7 feet tall. I had
See.
I had a tomato jungle. I had to literally pick up the plants to walk through it, and I left a good couple feet in between the plants. But by the time the end of the season came, you couldn't walk in my garden because you were stepping on tomatoes and
Oh
plants,
my
everything. And
gosh,
so
imagine, I want gardens everywhere now. I'm so sad we don't live in a culture where we all do this.
and I
Can we
don't
all
know
be
why
like
this
you?
podcast turned into, like, a whole gardening episode. But back to the grief, that's how I healed my grief. Also, as I listened to NDEs, near-death experiences to let me know that I am a part of a greater collection and a connection,
Absolutely.
and then, to be able to grow, like, there's something magical to be able to
It
grow some.
really is. Well, it's the life force too.
Yes,
That's what I like about it.
and
I
it's
look at
healthy.
it and like my son's really into plants and gardening right now, and he just has this great like just this feeling when he looks at the seed and he's like, "Can you believe the whole DNA's in there?" And we're just in awe over the fact that this one seed has the whole DNA of another tree and then seeds beyond that. So there's something to me very magical, especially when I see my kids like really understanding this concept. I'm like, there's just growth after growth after growth. Like life doesn't stop, and you can see it through a plant. It's not going to stop. And that's what I think you're really connecting to, is the spirituality, that it's like you can't see what's growing it, but you can see it's growing, and it just keeps growing. Where do you think that's coming from? It's coming
Right.
from,
That's a life source.
yeah. So to me, that's why it's healing for me, because I'm like, there's a life source coming out of here. Do you understand that? Like, that's amazing. Just in itself, that's amazing. And it just goes to show we never stop. And you can see it in your plant. We don't ever stop. We just keep growing, you
Right.
know?
And giving out seeds to other people.
Yes. And multiplying and
Oh,
loving, and it's all through love, you know. And I think just the darkness is just, it's an illusion. It's not real. We're just really loving spiritual beings that just want to love each other and be there for each other and want understanding. And we want all these things, you know. So as long as we can see that in ourselves, then we can spread it, you know.
absolutely. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I have had such an amazing
I
conversation with you.
do
But I know I probably should wrap it up here.
too. We can do this again.
Absolutely.
I would love it.
This was like, I've loved it. I love talking about NDEs. I love talking about grief and death and how, like, I don't know, life and death, it's not like boom, one stops and the other one begins. It's like
No.
this continual evolution of people, and we keep coming back or doing things or connecting on a deeper level with everyone around us. And even though we've lost a significant loved one in our life, they're still there. They're still, anytime we need to be near them, they're surrounding us, guiding us, loving us, um,
They're
in
eternal.
that capacity.
Yes.
Yes.
They're forever. They never leave.
And that's my belief. I don't want to
Absolutely.
force on anyone else. That's my belief. And a lot of
Mine
people I
too.
know are not there yet,
Yeah.
or they believe something completely different, and that's okay too.
And that's okay. I'm always like okay with that, because it's like, who am I to say what
Right.
other people should believe? Everybody's on the right path at the right time. And I think that one thing that would really help is that we have empathy for one another with
Mhm.
our walk and with where we're at, because everybody's not going to be where the other person thinks they should be. We
No,
all have to go through these life lessons and these different things. So I think empathy is just so important, with especially right now with where we're at in the world.
I agree. If you'd asked me 10 years ago my beliefs, they would have looked nothing like this. Nothing.
See? So who are we to say? Because it could be here, and then you're sitting here telling somebody this, this, and this, and they're not there. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're here, and you're like, oh, now they're there.
Yeah.
So it's between them and the creator and where they're at with themselves. You know, it's just all that. So yeah, just empathy, I think, is important.
I love that. And
Yeah, we need a lot of that.
we need a lot of that. 100% we do.
Yeah.
So, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of knowledge or advice or whatever it is, what would you say to them? Like on their grief
Um,
journey, they're on their grief journey. What would you leave them with?
I would say like the love that we were left with our loved ones who have passed, take that love and keep growing it, because that love that they are is eternal, and they're not gone. They're just on the other side and here with us and never leaving. But just take that love and let it keep growing, because on the other side, like I believe they already got their crowns, they graduated, they did so good. And so we're just here to celebrate them and to love them, and don't ever stop talking about them. Don't ever do that. And I know you guys won't, but just always bring your person with you and glorify them and talk about all their things. And when you're together, just don't ever leave them out. They're always there. They want to be here with us, and they love us forever. So the love is eternal. And when we do wake up, we're going to wake up and be like, oh, you were there the whole time. There you are. So the reality of it is this earthly realm makes things look way worse than it is, but really, we're all okay. We're all together. We're all going to wake up together. Everything's okay. So just enjoy life where you're at and take the person with you wherever they go. That's my suggestion.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for tuning in and listening to this episode, which I think is absolutely amazing. And
You're amazing.
go ahead and hit the like button, the follow button, share this out to anyone you think that might need it or could use it, or just because I'm okay with that too. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this special episode of Release. All the links plus a few extras are posted in the show notes below. And if you think someone you know could benefit by listening to this episode, please share it with them. And as always, keep going, keep being, keep doing. You are amazing.